views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Hey, welcome everybody. We're back again. I know that scares the crap out of most of you, as it should. And still another shout out to all the people who aren't watching. We appreciate your non-viewing as well. So, Bianca, Dirk, how are you this week?
Nice to see ya.
Pretty good.
Okay, why? You haven't watched the news or nothing like that this week? And that's, so you're doing.
Well, you know,
I've been camping.
Yeah,
Just
my
kidding.
neck still hurts from.
Yeah, once you get to that point where you're like, what the fuck, America? I mean, you just after a while, it just.
Oh, and I do want to mention next week we're going to have a guest on, Jay Craddock. He is going to be here talking about the nuclear waste site. And I'm not sure exactly, it was kind of confusing what his position is. I thought he might be in favor of it business-wise. So we'll see. That should be interesting. So
Yeah, we'll get a nice surprise.
yeah. So
It's amazing how many people are interested in business things that help the economy and help this and help that, but they're deadly.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, getting the nuclear waste from 3 Mile Island to Nevada. I mean, it comes by rail. All of the states that goes through, and listen, I dealt with nuclear stuff during my military career. So there are pros and cons, and it's the waste is the hardest part to deal with, and I still don't think we got that figured out.
I swear there
just
was
don't.
some kind of accident like this last week. And did you read anything about that?
Not last
You had
week.
mentioned that.
Like within the last week, there was some kind of screw up, and now I don't remember what it
You
was.
might be thinking of that HBO special, Chernobyl.
No.
But
No, I
that's-
couldn't even, I don't know. I was excited about that, and then I didn't manage to really get into it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, but then,
Well, you weren't
I
even,
started
were
following.
you even born then?
When was that, 85?
85, 86?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I was a child.
I mean,
but
Dirk and I lived through that, so that, I mean.
Yeah.
Did you watch it? It was pretty
I
fascinating.
watched
I-
the first 2 or 3
Yeah, I know
I was in
episodes.
the military, and I read a lot of stuff about all that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't
started
really
falling behind, and then all I saw was like people posting about it being pretty inaccurate, so I never ended up going back to it.
Pretty
So-
inaccurate?
Quite inaccurate.
Okay.
So I don't know.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, a lot of
That's-
people
that's-
died.
That's pretty much all you need to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah. I
not-
mean, I've watched the drone videos and everything going back in there,
Oh, yeah.
and that's pretty spooky.
You mean the ones going back in there today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in that whole area.
It's so
but
spooky.
The half-life for this stuff is like thousands of years.
Right.
And if you don't know what that means, the half-life means that in 1,000 years it's only half as dangerous as it is today. Another 1,000 years it's only that half. So
I guess they're getting animals out of there now, though, which is interesting.
you say they're getting
They're
animals out?
getting, the dogs and stuff. I
Right.
guess none of the dogs have lived beyond, I think it's 4 years.
Wow.
But they're now allowing dogs out, and we'll see what happens with them.
Well,
They're basically mutations.
yeah,
Right.
So
gotta be.
Most mutations don't live very long.
Yeah.
And the ones that start to live long,
They're gonna take over.
I'd be worried about. So that whole
So-
thing.
so-
It's just
not
so
only-
sad. Like,
But like
in
I
the
said-
drone videos, you see the
The wildlife
animals.
and- yeah.
Yeah, and it's so
But
sad.
that was kind of my point about this whole thing. It really bothers me when people really hype up this. We're gonna get more jobs for, we're gonna help boost the economy. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. But all these things, like for the environment, the nuclear waste, oil, fracking, all this, it's fucking dangerous for humans, and it creates havoc with our environment. But all in the name of capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 12 more years, right?
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Frack it up.
If we're lucky.
Okay, so that
the funniest thing about
me
that.
84. So I'd be ready to go by then.
The funniest thing about that though is the guy who is the Exxon CEO.
The ExxonMobil, yeah.
He's filing a petition to stop fracking near his home.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
which I find hilarious.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, but you said it was safe.
Yeah, it's absolutely safe. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all cool. And if it was safe, here's the thing: if it was safe, they wouldn't be afraid to disclose the chemicals that they're using in the fracking.
Exactly.
So anytime that happens and they don't want to provide you with the information, it's because there's something wrong. So, it's like, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, that, we're focused on the money and not on whether or not we're going to die. So
speaking of money, have you seen anything about John McAfee in the last couple of days?
John McAfee.
Who the heck is that?
John McAfee. Good God.
Did you see how she looked at me? She looked at me like, you don't know.
Don't you have like McAfee?
What's wrong with you?
Don't you have McAfee stuff all over your computer? Or
Okay. That was the first.
Oh wait! You're talking about the antivirus.
Yes.
Okay. No, I haven't.
John
seen it.
McAfee likes to run for president occasionally. He likes to go to South America and make people disappear sometimes. He's a neat guy, but he's out at sea with his wife now, and tweeted a photo of them with their assault rifles, and says that the CIA is trying to find them, so he's gonna go dark for a few days, and then he'll get back to us.
Do you know how stupid that sounds? He's on social media saying that the CIA is trying to find him, so he's going to go dark.
The CIA
and he actually thinks the CIA can't find him.
And they're going to come.
Well, they had a hell of a time.
I'm not putting any more of his shit on my
before.
computer, because if he's that fucking stupid.
They had a hell of a time finding him before
I haven't used McAfee in years.
I suspect that the reason they had a hard time finding him because they just really weren't all that interested.
Didn't care.
Oh no, he was down in South America. Somebody disappeared. They thought for sure this was something he did. He disappeared for a while until just nobody cared anymore or something.
All I can tell you is John and I work for the government. When they want to fucking find you, they will find you.
Yeah, there's no,
They will find you. Unless you're Bin Laden, of course, and you're or Saddam, and you're hiding in some little hellhole in Iraq, maybe.
He's still a couple of days ago planning to run for president, so I guess
they'll find him then.
All they got to do is contact his campaign chairman. Yeah.
Yeah. Where is he? Oh, yeah. Let me get him on the phone.
It's not unreasonable to think that this next election will be held completely on Twitter.
And that reminds me, you're talking about antivirus software, and you're familiar with Kaspersky?
No.
Kaspersky is
Am I dumb?
It's like up there like McAfee.
Okay.
Worldwide. And that is a Russian company.
Oh,
so please come back, John McAfee.
No, there's a...
Why did you bring up McAfee in the first place?
I barely know anything about it, and maybe there just isn't really much of anything to know. So I was just curious if anybody knew anything. I didn't know, because that's
if somebody
all
was looking for me, even that I know that they're going to find me one way or the other, I sure as hell wouldn't be going on social media and telling people,
That's my point.
Yeah.
I think Homeboy's just looking for a little publicity.
Sure,
But I'm going to go dark. I've got my rifles. And yeah, that's going to stop the CIA from killing you.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is and you should appreciate this as much as anybody. All of these gun rights people, and they are, storing all these guns and collecting guns and buying guns so that when the government comes to take over their stuff and take their guns, they can fight back.
Well, he's out to sea, so who knows?
Okay, the Coast Guard get him.
Yeah, Coast Guard get him. Yeah,
Yeah, did I? I
the
probably
U.S. Navy
didn't
get him.
mention that
But
they're on
my
a boat.
point is,
they're on
my
a boat
point is,
somewhere. I don't know what's going on.
you're going to get these militia guys that are going to go up against the trained military.
Right.
You know, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. They'll shoot each other before they.
Well,
end
I
up.
will say this, okay? Before people dismiss them too much, there's a lot of those militia guys that were prior military.
Right.
A lot of them actually went into the military to get the
Just to
training.
get the training.
So they could
Right.
go back and be in the militias.
Right.
A lot
And then-
of them,
and
a lot
you-
of them that weren't in the military were trained by guys that were in the military. They're now in the militias.
Right.
So,
And you're
I
right.
wouldn't.
We kicked the British ass, so.
Yeah, I would not take them lightly. However, I also think that in a lot of places where the militia is, they can fucking stay there.
Yeah, I know.
We don't care.
Yeah.
You stay up there, you can do all the shooting, shoot each other, Hatfields and McCoys, do all that stuff. We don't care. You know, I'm only worried about the militia guys that keep coming into the cities and blowing up churches and schools.
When the shit hits the fan and everybody, you know, the zombie apocalypse happens and all that stuff, and everybody heads to Montana and Wisconsin and all that, I'm staying right here.
Me too.
Because the place will be deserted. Everybody's going someplace else. They're going up in the hills, man. We'll have everything we need right here. Right?
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving. Yeah.
Anyway, next subject.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't a great subject.
No. It's interesting. It's something that's going on, and
Wait.
No,
You don't think that was a great subject, but
I always
McAfee was?
No, that's what I meant. McAfee. Like, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's not very handy. I don't know anything about him. I hoped everybody else would. Like, I don't even remember.
So
I don't
basically,
remember.
you were asking out of curiosity.
Right, exactly.
So-
What the hell's this guy doing?
So that is
Right.
that is
I
your
can't
assignment
remember-
for next week.
Well,
So-
I can't remember if the person who went missing even I don't remember if that was like his former wife or
Well,
something.
the-
I don't know
the-
if this
the,
wife is about to get.
this
She
is
may
the
end up
other
coming
thing.
missing.
Who's the guy that was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman or something like that supposedly
I
was
forgot
found
his name,
dead and
yeah.
all that stuff, you know, and that keeps coming back, and that's been rebuked like 50 times, but the facts don't matter. The facts don't matter. You know, if a lie is as good as the truth if you can get somebody to believe it.
What did you see that that cartoon on Facebook when they had a game show?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
I'm sorry, but
so he says,
your answer is
yes,
correct."
Ellen, your answer is correct, but since he doesn't believe it, we'll have to deem it incorrect.
Yeah.
You know, because your answer was right.
Your answer was correct. Your answer was right, but Dirk doesn't believe it, so,
So it's incorrect.
we have to mark it as incorrect in essence. Yeah, that was
stuff
great. I love that.
But I mean, you know, to me, it's the same thing as these people that claim to be these super patriots and everything, and then you start pointing out stuff that's in the Constitution, and they either change the subject or they lie about what's in it, and you can actually show them shit, and they just, well, no, I don't think it means that. It's like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Right. So a constitutional scholar who says it and says, okay, this is what this means. This is like the building department. Okay, you're out there and you're building something, and you have a code. You have the uniform code that you have to follow, like an electrician. We got an electrician working in here, and he has a set of rules that he has to follow. Now he may say this is what the rule means, but the building official or the building inspector by law is the only one who can interpret the code. So if the building official comes out and says, no, I'm sorry, you read that wrong, you misinterpreted that, this is exactly what it means, that's what you have to do.
Right.
And it's the same thing with any of the laws or the Constitution or anything like that. That's supposedly what the Supreme Court is supposed to be for.
Right.
Is that, yes, this is your interpretation, but that's not correct. This is actually what it means.
Well, good luck telling any, like, quote, our Christian nation nitwits that there's anything in the Constitution
and that
regards non.
And that was the second thing I was going to bring up, because they either throw the fact that they don't know anything about the Constitution in the face, or they bring up the Bible. It's like, wait a minute, we're talking about law here. What what the hell does the Bible have to do with that?
Right.
Right, and they won't believe you that there's anything in the Constitution
Right.
that says that we can't govern based on religion. They won't believe you.
Even if you show them. I mean, when I was in Germany, when I was stationed in Germany in the military, a group of us went on a trip, and we went to watch a symphony. And after the symphony was over, we came out. We decided we were going to go someplace else. And so my friend, who is also black, I mean, we're in a large group of people, so there were blacks and whites there, Germans and Americans. But my friend spoke German, so he walked up to this elderly German guy, and he was asking him in German where this place was, where we wanted to go. The guy just stared at him. He like he couldn't understand what he was saying, so he repeated like 3 times. He couldn't. So one of the other Germans actually asked him the same question, exactly the same way, and he answered. And after we left, they were basically, we were discussing it, and they basically said he has never seen a black person speak German. So his brain just would not accept the fact that a black person spoke German to him. He just, nothing. And that's what a lot of these evangelical Christians are like. When you talk to them about stuff, it doesn't matter what you tell them, it doesn't matter what you show them, it's like their brain will not accept it. Not going to happen.
There's a theory too about the Indians, the Native Americans in this country, that when they saw the ships that were coming to shore, you know, that they were actually invisible because their brains could not comprehend seeing these boats coming in. That, you know, they because initially they thought these people coming off the ships were gods because, you know, they just came out of nowhere. That's a theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read that a couple times, and so I can understand how our brains can do things like that and not let us accept things that we have not any experience about. You know, that we don't have.
It's phantom limb pain.
Yeah, my grandfather.
my
grandfather had lost his arm right after the First World War, and he used to tell me. I mean, he lost it right here, and he would tell me he'd be sitting around sometimes, and he could feel himself flexing his hand because it felt like his hand was asleep, and this was years and years and years after the war. You know, and he said I'll be sitting there, and he goes, it feels like my hand's asleep, and I'll reach over with my other arm. And remember, oh, there's nothing there. So, yeah, your brain's weird, man.
I think your brain's weird.
My brain's weird, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's weird, but it's very predictable in a lot of ways, which is why a lot of the things that have happened with the Christian right and conservatives, I mean, the extreme conservatives, has
Right.
happened because they know they can make people react in a certain way over and over and over again. And if you do it enough times, pretty soon it's become so ingrained in them.
Becomes normalized.
That is, yeah.
Right.
It's-
And that's what the radicals, that's what their purpose is. That's what the goal is. It is to, you know, whether it's Christianity, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, whatever. They're all, well, I don't know about the Buddhists because they're kind of peace-loving
it's
people,
not
but
really
you know, the
religion,
rest of them, you know, you've got the radical right, you got the radical left, you know, and both of them, when you get radical in either direction, that scares the crap out of me.
The thing is, though, that
Well, you have to learn how to manipulate people and how people think if you
Right.
want to go to some extreme
and
like
that's
that.
exactly what I was going to say about politicians. I mean,
So you mean, excuse me for interrupting, but what you're trying to say is that if you could maybe put some stuff on social media that could get people to think a certain way, they would think that it was their idea, right?
There's a thought.
There's a thought.
you know, but
And I'm looking forward as hell to next Wednesday.
There's what's happening next Wednesday?
Mueller's going to be in front of the Congress.
Yeah. But there's another aspect of that I find very fascinating too, and it's that people put this stuff out there, and there are so many people who want to believe that, and they see that somebody else, it's like when you see stuff on Facebook and they post, you know, I don't know who needs to hear this, but blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because you want to know, you want somebody who might feel marginalized or whatever to know that there's somebody else that thinks like that, to give them a little bit more courage and stuff like that. Well, but those crazy ass people are exactly the same way. They have these views that are really destructive and nasty and mean-spirited, and then they see somebody else supposed to go like, yeah, man, I'm not the only one that thinks that way.
And that's exactly what's happening.
They've been suppressed for so long.
Everything right now. You know, people who couldn't really get into politics or didn't want to get into politics because it was difficult for them to find, especially like somebody in a main party who would agree with them and make them feel like it's okay to hate Jews or whatever. And suddenly the Republicans are okay with that. So all these people are thinking, well, I guess I'm a Republican, and it's totally okay to feel this way now.
You know, there was a time when actually being a politician means you were being held accountable.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you're actually one of the people that makes the laws that holds people accountable for stuff. That line has been crossed so many times. I mean, it's
no
non-existent.
exists. Yeah.
So now the only purpose of becoming a politician is so you can get
Power
in
and
and
money.
get power and money
Right.
and influence people
Yep.
and get bribes and everything else. And you can call it whatever you want to. They're fucking bribes.
The guy who, and now I can't remember his name, was just appointed as head of the labor board.
Right. That's Scalia's.
Yeah, Scalia, his son.
his son.
Yeah. And he was
An anti-union lawyer.
union buster,
And he's in charge of the labor department.
Yeah.
That just makes perfect sense.
And this is what I don't get, is how do people not see all of the agencies that have been set up over the years, and there's some redundancy, I understand that, and there's some, corruption or whatever, but OSHA, for the most part, was set up to worker safety. And as a construction guy, OSHA was a major pain in the ass, but it saved a lot of lives, and so I'm all for it.
Right.
And the EPA and the labor, all of this stuff, the Department of Interior and all this stuff that, the pesticides that's now going to be okay to use, that's killing all the bees. So, okay, yeah, great. Somebody's going to make some money for the next 10 years, but we'll all be dead after that.
So, and my question is, they were trying to say, well, a lot of Americans wanted these guys to go in and wanted Trump to be in charge so he could blow up all the system that was in Washington, D.C. and stop all this corruption and all this other kind of stuff. And it's just the complete opposite. They've gone in, they've dismantled all these things so they can make more
They are
money.
corporate raiders.
Yeah, they're
That's exactly
literally
what they
making
do.
money off of the decisions that they're making.
Yeah.
And the other part of that I don't understand is you don't have to completely destroy an organization to make it better. You find the parts that are messed up and you get rid of those, and
Right.
then you make it better.
Right.
So this whole idea of blowing shit up so we can make it better was totally bogus in the first place.
If you had something to replace it,
Right.
if you had something to make it better,
And this was
Okay.
my biggest argument about the fucking ACA.
yeah, the Affordable Care Act.
I never got that. You guys said you didn't want it because Obama wanted it, and you were going to come up with something better, and you had all these years to come up, and you never did. Even when you got called on it, you still couldn't come up with anything and still couldn't get it passed.
Yeah.
So to me, that shows cowardice, stupidity, any number of negative things you want to bring up, because my attitude would have been, I don't care if they pass it. If you don't want Obamacare, that's cool. What do you have?
Give us something else.
Give us something
Yeah.
else. You guys
Give
get
us an
together,
alternative.
because they really should have gotten. All they had to do was look at what they had and say, "Yeah, we don't like this part. Let's change that. We don't like that part. Let's change
that's
that."
it.
That's all they had to do.
Right.
And then we would have had the best thing that both sides of the House and the Senate could come up with, and
Right.
everybody would have been happy.
Right, at least something to try.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And they didn't even have the balls to do that.
Like, you guys think I have some super shitty opinions, and that's totally fine because they probably are. But it's shit to try. Like school
Stupid,
vouchers.
shitty opinions?
Like school
Wait,
vouchers.
where did that-
Like, we haven't done
mean
it.
like-
wait.
You mean like your hair color? Or...
Yeah.
Wait.
But no, like school vouchers
Seriously,
and
you're
stuff. I know you
accusing
guys
us, you're
no,
accusing
no,
us of that?
no.
Where did that come from?
Like, I know, we don't agree
I
on-
disagree with you on that. Yeah,
Right.
that is correct. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm right or that it would work or that it's fantastic, but I'm open to trying things, and
Right.
it's that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you don't give us any alternative, then shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
Well, and that's it. It's like, okay, so this is broken, so let's throw it away. No, let's fix it. Let's find a way to fix it. You
And,
know,
they're still doing exactly the same thing. They're finding all these different ways to undermine the ACA, but they're not coming up with one attempt to make it better.
right.
Simply because they didn't come up with the ideas, therefore it's no good.
But part of that is, and I'm sure you read this article too, that this last year the pharmaceutical companies made over $50 billion in profit.
Right.
In profit. Not they made $50 billion. They made $50 billion in profit. And the drug prices are the highest they've ever been, and it keeps going up, and it's getting outrageous.
Right.
And as long as those people are paying our congressmen, left and right, because there's just as many Democrats as Republicans are taking money from big pharmacy or big pharma. So
I don't understand how the average American, and I'm talking about somebody who maybe is less than a millionaire, multimillionaire.
right.
I don't understand how the average American look at that and see that's okay. Unless you're a multi-billionaire and you're part of the pharma industry, I don't understand how you can think that's all right. That should piss everybody off.
Well, look at the groups that live up along our northern border, are taking bus trips over to Canada to buy their insulin and other drugs.
People have been
because
going to
they're-
Mexico for years to
Yeah.
have operations.
Yeah.
And to Costa Rica, all kinds of so-called third world countries. They're going to all these different places to have medical shit done. They're going to Europe to have medical stuff done. We don't find an issue with that?
Right.
Really?
Well, as long as there is money in politics, I think there was an article I just read about our founding fathers, the representative, our congressmen and reps only get a stipend, a subsistence,
Right,
like a
right.
per diem, because they knew once they started getting a salary, and look, you serve in Congress for, what is it, 7 years? If you serve for 7 years, from that point on, you got your salary for the rest of your life, your medical.
I don't even think it's 7 years.
Is it 7 years? I think it is. It's more than one term.
Okay.
It's like you have to, like 1.5 terms or something like that, and then
But you get everything for life.
Yeah.
Everything.
yeah.
I just find that.
Well, and so that's why our Social Security is bankrupting the country.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Oh gosh, the judge in New Jersey who gave. There have been a bunch of them
The one
who've
that
been
just
getting in
resigned?
trouble. Yes, he is. He resigned because he talked to the victim, a rape victim, and tried to explain to her and her family and lawyers. He didn't think that they quite understood that coming after the boy who raped her and filmed it and then sent it all around and admitted that it was rape. He told them all that they didn't seem to understand that this would have a negative effect and how bad of a negative effect it would have on this boy's life, that he's a good candidate for college, and not just college, but a really good one, and then gave
If I'd have
him.
been her dad, I would have had. And apparently, Judge, you don't understand what the rape on my daughter did and how it will affect her the rest of her life.
And what's going to happen to you as soon as you
So
walk
he
out of the
gave-
courtroom?
I can't remember what the sentence
Incredible.
was that he ended up giving, but it was because
Like,
It was-
I think he
because
got
it would
probation.
negatively.
You got 1 year probation.
Yeah. And that 1 year
Right.
of probation.
Right.
I mean,
Right. He's been removed, and there's
But
another.
he resigned. I think he.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
And
he
there's
resigned.
another. There were 3, maybe even 4 judges in New Jersey who just have, like, in the last year or so, gotten in trouble for this. There was even a female judge who I think it was the female who asked one of the victims if she had tried to close her legs.
That was
Yeah.
that was not a female
No,
judge.
okay.
No, that
That was the male judge.
There was a female judge as well. I
Right.
can't remember what it was that she did, but yes, it was. Did you try to close your legs?
They want to know if you screamed, if you
And-
screamed loud enough, if you said no, if you did, it's like. So if you get punched in the face and you're stunned and you don't say anything, then
Yeah. Too bad for you.
You're complicit in your rape
Yeah.
because hey,
Yeah, well,
you didn't say no. I
just say no. Wasn't that Nancy Reagan's deal?
Right, like if somebody
is one of
comes
the
into my
things.
house with a gun and starts stealing stuff, like, is that okay if I don't say, "Could you please not"?
Yeah.
Like, how about maybe
Please don't
no?
do that.
Yeah. This is a subject that really bothers me. At least because I was a sexual assault detective
Right.
for all those years with Metro, but also because I have 4 daughters, and I find it appalling how many of these guys can actually go out, force themselves on a woman or on another man or a child. They do these things basically with impunity because they know that when they go to court, there's a very good possibility.
They'll get off.
First of all, a lot of the cops, a lot of times are gonna, they're gonna ask all these questions to make the woman feel like, well, I don't even want to report the damn case.
Well, but wasn't that the question? Why are these women waiting 20 years to report this shit?
Exactly.
Well, because
Listen, it
only
makes perfect sense to me.
20% of cases end up being prosecuted, and then
Well, now they're finding out that that's one of the things that Kamala Harris was talking about. They've got all these rape kits,
Yeah.
DNA kits that have been taken. Nobody ever opened them up. They have actually found, I can't remember how many people it was, but quite a few people over the last maybe
The
10
DNA has
years.
proved that
where
they
the
were
DNA proved that these guys have been in jail for like 20 or 30
Yep.
damn years.
32 years the one guy was in.
Yeah, and they never even looked at the rape kit.
Yeah.
So, to me, this is just.
And that's totally baffling because seriously, only I think it's like 200 out of 1,000 cases end up being prosecuted, and about 8 of them will end up in some sort of a conviction. So out of
Which is tragic in itself.
right,
Those
and
stats.
then you've got those 8 people, and I don't know what percentage of those end up being errors.
Here's another
It's so-
adding to
yeah.
that. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, most of the people that
Like my brain just wants
investigate
to
this,
shut down.
that prosecute it, they're mostly men. Most of these men have wives, daughters, sisters, mothers. Do you not
Hopefully they
understand?
all have mothers.
Yeah, mothers.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because some of them are
Yeah.
so fucked up that I wonder if they were hatched from eggs or something. But I look at what they're doing, and I go, so number one, you're not going to try to prosecute this, and if you do prosecute it, you might get the wrong guy, and then you're not even going to look at the evidence to see if this guy is guilty or not. Because what it all boils down to is just like with a murder investigation. You have a murder investigation, you put a guy in jail, and then you find out years later they had evidence to show that he wasn't really the guy, and he gets out. And this is happening more and more and more, which is another reason why people don't like the death penalty. But my problem is, you're basically saying, I would rather put the wrong motherfucker in jail to make myself look good and to make the system look good, but there's still a guy out there who's committing these crimes.
Right.
Right, but I mean,
And I'm okay with that.
Trump still stands behind what he said with the Central Park Five.
I try not to count anything that he says.
Did you
'cause
hear his comments on that?
He's a fucking idiot. But that's another thing. But the prosecutor, she said the same thing.
Yeah.
She basically doubled down on what she did too.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was not aware.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
care what Trump said, 'cause
Yeah.
he was an asshole when he said it the first time.
Well, see, she's apparently is being shitty about it, but she's now been forced to step down from, like,
Right.
she wasn't working as a prosecutor anymore. She was just working for some charities, and they don't even want her
Right.
anymore. But the president can say the same thing and still be the president.
Well, now they're saying that, because he's a president, all these scholars are getting together and trying to say, well, as a president, he can't be prosecuted for any crime. And I'm
While
like,
in office.
Yeah, I was like, really? He's just the fucking president. That doesn't mean he's God. If he did something wrong, he can still get prosecuted in court just like anybody else can.
That's right.
We didn't set up our president to be omnipotent.
Right. He's got a job that we hired him for.
Exactly.
The end.
Exactly.
And he's not doing a good job. He needs to be fired and replaced.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But I find that argument is ridiculous. You're saying that because we have a president, we elected him to this office, that because that office is so revered around the world that he cannot be prosecuted for a crime if he commits a crime? Are you fucking kidding me?
Wasn't, and I can't remember how far back this goes, and I hope I'm right, and I hope my memory serves me right, but at one point in time, you could not sue the federal government. You remember that? Back
Yeah,
around
but-
the 50s, 60s, something like
But
that.
you have to remember that the reason why those laws were created were because you had people in the government that were talking to senators and congressmen and said, yeah, we don't want to be paying out this money because we keep fucking up.
Yeah,
And so they made those laws
Right.
to do that.
yeah, no, and that's,
But there is no law on the books that says you can't prosecute a president.
right.
They're just
Well,
just
and
like,
that's just it. There is no law. There's nothing in the Constitution. It was a Department of Justice policy. Isn't that what they were talking about? That it was a policy of the Department of Justice that you could not or would not prosecute a sitting president.
yeah. Well,
So,
I don't think
it wasn't a
just,
law, it was
I don't
just-
think it was just the Department of Justice. I think it was a kind of consensus from a whole bunch of scholars. But
Right.
yeah, primarily them.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty rich, considering the fact that his boy runs the Department of and I
yeah.
use that term loosely. Runs the
Yeah,
Department
no,
of
I know
Justice.
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the world is saying, hey, but how did you feel?
But it's the same thing because I think a lot of cities and states have the same thing, that they don't allow, they put a cap. They made a law that puts a cap on certain things because they know they fuck up all the time.
Right.
And if they had to pay out, this is the funny part about all this stuff. They actually would rather go through all the trouble of making these laws to put these caps on it instead of actually going and using that money to fix the problem that causes them to get sued.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that if you, instead of perpetuating, even in business, okay, you got one employee that's doing something wrong. So you make new rules for everybody instead of addressing that particular problem or that individual. And the same way in law enforcement, we've talked about that before.
That just it boils my blood.
I mean, you as a cop.
They sit there. You have a cop that goes out and he does something wrong. I mean, egregiously wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. All the other cops knew it was wrong. The department would rather either cover it up or falsify information to keep that guy from getting out, so
Right.
the public would
And
know,
making you look bad.
and getting sued,
Right.
or they would rather pay money under the table, settle
Right.
settle it out of court, so nobody and put a gag order on it, so nobody else will know about it. They consider that easier than actually going after the guy that did the thing wrong and getting rid of his ass.
But don't you think that public opinion would be so much different or better? And I'm using the police department as an example.
When I ran
you got
for the
you got a
sheriff.
bad cop. Hey, guys, we got a bad cop.
When I
We're
ran
going
for
to
sheriff,
take care
that's
of this.
exactly what I told
Right.
everybody. If you found the bad cops and you got rid of them, the public would be so great. They would know. They would feel, not necessarily know.
Right.
They would feel that if somebody does something dishonorable, because the police department is supposed to be an honorable profession.
Yes.
If somebody does something dishonorable, he's gone.
Yeah.
I I
And-
feel more comfortable about my police department
and you
now.
should be okay. You're driving down the freeway and you see these signs. Fines doubled in construction area. Okay, so you're driving through there, and basically what it's saying, hey, there's people out here working, and if you break the law here, you're going to pay double. This is exactly my opinion about a police officer, a fireman, anyone in the public trust who breaks the law.
I agree.
The penalty
agree.
should be so severe that, I mean, there's got to be something that is going to make them stop and
And
say,
instead, it's the exact opposite.
Right.
The chances are you can go out and commit a crime, knowingly commit a crime. They prove that you knowingly commit the crime, and you get off scot-free.
yes,
The guy that killed Eric Garner.
16 bullets, bang, 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 bang.
No.
And-
This
Oh,
is
that was the other-
He
yeah,
choked
yeah, I'm
him,
sorry.
and
The one that got choked out.
2 days
Right.
ago
Oh,
they
yeah.
decided
Yeah.
not to pursue
They decided not to
any.
pursue it.
Right.
Yeah.
But somebody brought up an important point, though, because they did say that Eric Holder was in office when all this stuff happened. Obama was the president. They could have done something about it with the Justice Department. They chose not to.
Yeah.
So the fact that this Justice Department's not doing anything about it, I mean, really, you can't be surprised about that. But that now,
No, I mean I wouldn't have been surprised, no matter
right?
what
Exactly.
or who.
Exactly. So my attitude is the guy. Not only did he choke him out, he used something that the police department had declared not. You couldn't use it.
Right.
He used it anyway. He kills the guy. Now, I don't think it was murder. I do think it was probably manslaughter. But something should have been done. The guy that filmed it went to jail.
Yeah, I remember that.
So people look, and this is another.
So it's
because
better.
now all this stuff
it's
is
better to commit a crime than it is to film it.
all this stuff is connected, because the thing that bothers me about cops is that they're always whining about how public perception is so bad, and they can't understand why the Black Lives Matter people hate cops. They don't understand any of this stuff. But then you can just look at this one particular case, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're an honorable man. You look at this particular case. It doesn't matter whether Eric Garner was selling cigarettes or not. And as it turns out, guess what? They falsified the report to make it look worse than it was, so they could cover up the guy who actually killed Eric Garner using illegal chokehold. Okay, so that's another case that adds on there, and I think those guys did actually lose their jobs.
Are
Right.
you familiar with the current ASAP Rocky situation?
Well,
What? I'm sorry.
Trump
But
is
he's-
actually trying to get a black man out of jail.
But he's not
he
in
is
this country,
in
though.
right. He's
Switzerland
a
or
rapper.
something?
He's
Oh,
in,
he's in Sweden.
He's in yeah.
The guy
he's
that's
in
in Sweden, yeah.
and allegedly the conditions that
He's a rapper,
being
right?
yeah. Allegedly the conditions he's being held in are inhumane, which I kind of
I have a hard
wonder
time with that
about
because Sweden's got
Sweden's
some
got one of
pretty
the-
nice prisons.
They got one
I
of the
would
best
think
prison
so.
systems in the world.
Well, he's
But-
a rapper, so I mean, he's probably used to Cristal and.
Yeah, I don't
So-
know, but some people are kind of laughing at this, just at the irony, because he has been asked in the past about Black Lives Matter and about Ferguson, and he said that he wasn't going to talk about Ferguson. He doesn't care. It's got nothing to do with him because he lives in Beverly Hills, not Ferguson, and so he doesn't care. He's been asked about Black Lives Matter.
This is the rapper.
Yes, he said that that Black Lives Matter is stupid, all lives matter, and all of that rhetoric, and has also just said some really nasty things about dark-skinned black women. So people who didn't appreciate any of those comments are kind of laughing at the moment. But I guess he's friends with Kanye West, so he asked his wife to go talk to the president, and so she did. But I guess he's tried to talk with Sweden, and they've said no.
That's and you've traveled the world as a military man, and one of the things they drummed into us was that you are in a foreign country. And if you break their laws, you are going to suffer the consequences of the laws of that country.
And well, you should,
And
because when they come
that's
into our
exact-
country,
that-
we do
and
exactly the
because
same
we
thing.
expect the same thing. You come to our country, you follow our laws. So, and I've seen it over and over and over again. I know you have too. People go there expecting, well, I'm an American, so you have to treat me different.
Because I'm
And,
special.
and that doesn't happen. I mean, it's just, hey, you screw up and you do something wrong, you're going to get your ass in a sling.
As a matter of fact, the chances are really good that where they might have worked a deal out, they won't work a deal out if you have that attitude.
Right.
And especially if the country comes on in hard-handed, like. But anyway, I don't want to lose point
I'm sorry.
of what I was talking about
Right, I'm
before.
sorry.
I don't understand how an organization who was supposed to be founded upon the whole concept of honor will allow bad cops to get away with stuff that will cover up things, that will bribe people basically with the settlements to keep these things quiet instead of actually fixing the fucking problem. If you want people to treat you as an honorable organization, then you have to act like one. And all these cops that I see that get on Facebook and make these posts and stuff, they're so incensed that somebody would dare talk about cops. But yet, every day you see a news story about a guy
Right.
who was put in prison because they trumped up charges. You have cops. This latest cop in Florida that has been putting evidence.
Planting
planting
drugs,
evidence
and traffic stops.
yeah. You have so many different cases of these cops that are doing stuff where it's obvious by now there is a large percentage, whether you want to admit it or not, there's a large percentage of bad cops out there that are doing things simply because they have a badge and a gun.
Right.
And they did this to
Well,
get power.
it's the little man syndrome.
You're starting to find out even more and more that there's more white nationalists. You're finding out there's more
KKK people and white nationalists.
evangelical types
Yep.
that are in there they're really cracking down on people because of stuff that they don't personally believe in. You can't have people like that in a police department.
No.
They're finding out the same thing about the military now. You've got a lot of, and they've been talking about this for
Yeah.
years. You've got these nationalists that are in, you've got gang members that are in, and they all join because they want to get that training so they could go back and commit better crimes.
Right.
But the military won't do anything about it. That was
Wait,
hilarious.
wait,
They were talking.
Okay. So let's back up on that statement
okay.
just 1 second.
Well, let me make
Okay.
this one point. I just was listening to a report, and the reason I said that is because I was listening to this report yesterday on NPR, and they were talking about the riots that the Marine Corps had at Camp Lejeune
Right.
in 68,
Right.
67, 68, and these race riots just broke out. And it wasn't just that particular base, but that was one of the worst ones. And they actually had one guy got beaten to death, a white Marine, a whole bunch of other people just got jacked up and arrested and stuff like that. But a lot of that happened because the military, the generals, they were completely caught off guard. They had no idea that there was, because, the way they looked at it, well, now that we've segregated, we have integrated the military, all relations, they're all great. Which is stupid just on the face of it.
Yeah.
But the fact was, they figured, we're going to make these laws, and this is the way it is, and so everything is good. And it was never like that. It wasn't like that when I was in.
Right.
So.
Well, I agree with you on that, except when you're in a combat situation.
Right. Yeah.
You don't care.
Right.
You do not care. And
most of the guys
that,
I ever talked about that were in the military, they also said when you have a problem of whatever it is,
Right.
especially combat, that's the most extreme problem. But if you have any kind of problem and your unit has to work together,
they do.
fuck that racial shit.
Yep.
We got to get stuff done,
Yep.
and they will usually get it done. So from that aspect of it, that's one of the things I loved about the military. But there were a whole bunch of people that just did not want to see minorities of any kind in law enforcement, same way. They don't want minorities, women, blacks, whatever. They don't want them in positions of authority. They just don't. And they will do it, and they will do subtle things. We used to call it pencil whipping.
Yeah.
They will do very subtle things to do it. They won't come up and tell you, I think you're incompetent. They'll just give you a little bit less of an efficiency report
Right.
than they would give somebody else. And I could tell you all kinds of stories about that, but basically, they just sabotage people's careers. And they fucked my career. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I got out.
Yeah.
I
For
just
being
got
a
tired of it.
minority?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would tell you to your face, well, I just don't think black people have the leadership skills to be able to do these certain things. And then when you prove them wrong, that made them twice as mad.
Yeah, I know that.
Dude,
and-
I had people get so mad at me because the people that work for me love me. They would do anything for me. They were amazing people. I took care of them. They took care of me.
Right.
And the other guys couldn't stand it because their people couldn't stand them.
My cousin got married when she was in the Marine Corps.
got married when
Yes.
she was okay.
So that she wasn't a minority so much. And so
Wait, she's a female in the Marines?
she's a
She was a
female.
minority.
And she was also a lesbian. And so she and a friend.
Oh, okay. So she married another woman.
No.
Oh, she married-
You could not marry a woman back then.
Yeah,
and you
that's what
could
I was
not-
Oh,
gonna
so
say.
now I understand.
Okay,
So now you're
yeah,
saying
now I
that's why. So
understand
she
now.
didn't. So
Oh,
it's
yeah, I'm
basic
just saying I
cover.
completely
front.
believe
Cover,
you.
yeah.
She and a man in the kind of in the same boat. They were married
Gotcha.
through their military careers. And
So that on the
I
surface,
can't imagine that anyone would have bought that shit because I know
but
her.
this-
But
No. But this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. People believe what they want to believe. If they saw that, they
Yeah.
would be perfectly happy. She might be a lesbian, but she married a man.
right,
well, how could Rock Hudson be gay?
But,
right,
yeah,
You know, look at the people
It
that
just-
freaked out when that
it
came out.
freaks me. Well,
Mr. Brady died of AIDS.
Yeah.
Well, what about when we came up with the thing about John Wayne, when the racist stuff that he said?
Oh, yeah.
I posted that on Facebook a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I had people that became unglued. How dare you talk about John Wayne? He was an icon. He was this. He was that. He was still a racist motherfucker. That's just the way it is, buddy.
He still
He
said those
that.
things. I know.
He believed that.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's incredible. So basically, what I'm saying is that yes,
Right.
they would believe that
Yeah.
because they want to
Yeah.
believe that. They would rather believe that than to believe there was a lesbian in the Marines
Right. And a gay man.
and a gay man. Oh, that.
They were just
Which is even worse.
They were just a lovely couple.
But I was surprised at how much guys hate lesbians, and I'm thinking to myself, okay,
I could be a
even
lesbian.
if she wasn't, but the thing is, even if she wasn't a lesbian, she probably wouldn't go after your ass. So what difference does it make to you?
No.
And why are these guys?
yeah, I mean,
and why are they mad at gay men? That's less guys competing against you
Yeah.
for women.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them do what they want to do. They ain't fucking with you, and they sure
can-
as hell don't want your ass.
I can go out to dinner with a woman and men, we can pass by, we can hold hands and you hear, what a waste.
Well, yeah, but that's a small percentage because most of them think she had me. She
That
would,
yeah,
she would
right.
be
You
Oh,
just
yeah,
haven't
oh,
had the
yeah,
right man. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
crack me up. There's like they can look at a woman and they go, "Hey, baby, you want to go out?" Says, "I would never go out with you."
Okay.
And she'll walk away, and the guy will look at you like, "She wants me."
So many years ago,
You just haven't had the right
Exactly.
man yet.
That's exactly how they think.
there used to be a bar in this town. It was over on Nellis and Charleston, right up the road from Nellis Air Force
Oh, that
Base,
sounds familiar.
called Maxie's.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, Maxine's. Maxine's was a lesbian bar, and it was started by two showgirls back in the early 50s, mid 50s, early 50s, and was known worldwide. I mean, lesbians from all over the world knew this place, and when they came to Vegas, they would go there. And it was a bar, like a neighborhood bar, and you know, they had a little stage, and they would do floor shows and things like that. So a guy that I was working with that owned an air conditioning company bought the place when the two women retired. And he kept it as a lesbian bar. And because I had experience in the restaurant business, he asked me to go to work for him and manage the place for a while until he could get things turned around. So I would be in there, and you see all of these women around the bar and stuff like that, and you would see these guys come in that you knew just got off the base, coming up from Nellis, and they would walk in, and you could see them, and they're going, "Oh my God, we're in heaven!" Seeing all these women in the bar, and then they'd start sitting down and start talking to the women, and you could just see their faces going. And when they realized what was going on there, and then leave, and it happened time
So it
and
wasn't
time
really
and time
heaven,
again.
but it wasn't really hell. So it was
Right.
like purgatory.
Right.
You're right there, surrounded by it, but
Yeah.
you can't touch, can't.
And
Yeah, that's
they'd
hilarious.
leave, and then all the women would kind of chuckle and laugh, and blah blah blah. And then you got the ones that would mess with them a little bit, when they'd come in and sit down and start hitting on them, and they'd, and it was just, it was. We are so egotistical as people that there must be something wrong with you. Couldn't be anything wrong with me, So it's got to be something wrong with you. Or even a straight woman,
But-
if you ask a straight woman out or
what's
hit on her
really-
in the bar, and she turns you down, or you want to dance, no thanks. Can I buy you a drink? No, that must
But
be a
that's what I was
lesbian.
going to say, because it's getting so nowadays that it doesn't make any difference whether the person is gay or not gay or transgender. It doesn't matter. Guys will go up to a woman and ask her, and if she's not interested in them, even if she's polite and nice about it,
Right.
they will lose their shit.
Yeah, you're a whore,
They
you're
will-
a pig, yeah, I know.
In the last couple of years, they've actually had cases of women getting stabbed and shot because this guy came up and hit on them, and they go, "No, I'm not interested. I have a boyfriend," or I'm just not interested.
Right.
And he actually fucking shot her. It just boggles the mind.
Must have been a cop.
We're so fucked up nowadays.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Hey, guys, we're out of time again. How do we do this, man? We just and we haven't even scratched the surface of all the shit that's been going on this week. Oh well.
Breathe.
No, but I can sum it up for you.
Okay, please do.
What the fuck, America?
Every generation blames the one before, and all of their frustrations come beating on your door. I know that I'm a prisoner to all my father held so dear. I know that I'm a hostage to all his hopes and fears. I just wish I could have told him in the living years. Oh, crumpled bits of paper filled with imperfect thoughts, still to conversations. I'm afraid that's all we've got. You say you just don't see it. He says it's perfect sense. You just can't get agreement in this present tense. We all talk a different language, talking in defense. Say it loud. Say it loud. Oh, say clear. You can listen as well as you hear. sometimes see his face, it may have a new perspective on a different day. And if you don't give up and don't give in, you may just be okay. So say it, say it, say it loud. Say it clear. Oh, say it clear. You can listen as well as you hear. Because it's too late. It's too late when we die. Whoa, when we die. We don't see eye to eye. I wasn't there that morning when my father passed away. I didn't get to tell him all the things I had to say. I think I caught his spirit later that same year. I'm sure I heard his echo in my baby's newborn tears. I just wish I could have told him in the living years. So say it, say